Hi, this is Zach here with the US Chartbreakers here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Tuesday, the 10th of June. Starting off with the S&P, which is comfortably above the 6,000 level and also comfortably above the initial May resistance, around 59.70. Above that, looking for not only the record levels of the year, 61.50, but as high as that red resistance line projection heading for 63.40 now by the end of next month. Quite what would do that is obviously something of a mystery, but that is the technical situation at the moment. The worst on the downside at the moment seen as being recent support towards 5,900, but not really looking for anything lower than that, given that this appears to be a mid-move consolidation. Moving along to the Nasdaq, and here the hope is that we can take out the old February resistance there, 22,200, sooner rather than later. We've got an ultimate target here, maybe for the end of next month, up to 23,000, which is nominally the top of that triangle there from the spring of last year. On the downside, initial support 21,400. Worst case at the moment, 21,000, which was that brief probe that we had at the end of last month. Moving on to the stocks, and quite a selection at the moment. And here you can see that Anixa is first. Here we've had a gap through resistance, so we want to stay above the resistance around $3.30. Above that, looking for $4, quite simply, after the double gap high that we've had for the shares over the recent past. Moving on to a company which sounds as though it is certainly in vogue at the moment, Bitcoin Depot. The clue is in the name, and we can see that over the recent past, the shares have blown out to the target that we had there towards $3.60. In fact, they've blown everything out. The next level up is the top of the gap down there around $6.70, which we would hope to see by the end of this month, especially the way that Bitcoin is rallying hard at the moment. Moving along to another situation which hopefully will have legs, and it comes in the form of Fractyl Health. Here you can see that we're not far off our target there, where it was at the top of the broadening triangle there from October last year. So $3.40 the level there. That's also the main resistance. You can see post August 2024 resistance. So looking for that while we're above recent resistance, or the turn of the year resistance, around $2.75. So obviously we had a decent close above that yesterday. Next on the list is Hong Kong Pharma, and here beautiful U-shaped turnaround, and looking as though we can consolidate above recent resistance, the neckline resistance, and that's around the $1.90 level. Above that, looking for obviously a full retest of the initial resistance from the start of the year towards $3.50 and beyond, and looking for that by the end of next month. Worst case at the moment, we've got to test the $1.50 area rather than $1.90. Next up is No Labs, and here rather strange chart, but I suppose it is a bullish one in the sense that situation has revived. We do have major resistance though at from back in February, so that needs to be broken, basically the $4 level. Only above that can we then assume that we could get up to the $5.60 area from back in February. On the downside, there is the risk of a test of not only March resistance around $2.40, but even filling the gap down to $1.60. So certainly one of those situations where one might want to stand back for a few days to see the dust settle. MFI is next, otherwise known as MF International, and here a beautiful bull flag. We've had the shares hitting that line of resistance there from October last year. That's towards $3.20, and looking for that target while we're above a recent support around $2.20. So a relatively simple looking situation there. Onto Navitas, and here we've exceeded our rising trend channel there at $6.60. Looking for a new leg to the upside. That's probably going to take the form of a move up to $8.60 by the end of next month, or even probably actually by the end of this month, given the current rate of progress. And looking for that while we're above the old target there and the $6.60 zone. Next up is Nano Labs, which we looked at just a day or two ago. Here we've obviously blown out our previous target there towards $8.90 and are left flailing in terms of trying to find a new one. That looks to be $16, hopefully by the end of this month, while we're above recent resistance and stay on the right side of $10. Moving along to another stock which has been looked at here in the recent past, which is Newegg, and here we've broken our initial target, $12.20, and hit our second target there at $16.20. The only thing now is to see whether we find support at around the $12.20 area for a retest of $16.30, but charting going well there. Moving along to Oblong, and here slightly messy picture, but what is nice here is the handbrake turn after the rebound of the rising 50-day line. That means that we're looking for a resistance line projection towards $5.20 and looking for that while we're above the 50-day moving average at $3.08. So hopefully that will stay in place. Obviously yesterday's support towards $3.50, and ideally we'd like that to hold. On to the last few. The first one is Ohmyhome, which has delivered quite a steep bear trap rebound, but back in the triangle there after overshooting it rather painfully. Floor of the triangle there around $1.20, and we've got an end of day close above the 50-day moving average there at $2.29. The longer we can stay above that 50-day line, the greater the chance of move to $5 by the end of next month. A stock which I haven't looked at for a while is coming up next, and it is Synaptogenix. Here you can see one of those one-day spikes, again after giving the bulls a false move to the downside. That should mean that we have plenty of momentum here, even though we've obviously already had plenty of momentum. The scenario here is that above the recent resistance there and the floor of the gap there towards $2.70, we're looking for a retest of $4.50 over the next few weeks. On to the last two. The first one is Twin Hospitality, and here a turnaround after quite an extended decline. There are two ways of looking at it probably, and here you can see one of them is that we need to get an end of day close above that resistance line there at $6.20. Above that we'd then be looking for a $10 plus target by the end of this month. Otherwise, any weakness back to the $5 area and pre-breakout resistance could be regarded as a buying opportunity. But ideally, we're looking for that end-of-day close through that resistance line there and yesterday's close. Finishing off with XTI, and here you can see that we've had a turnaround after a long period in the wilderness. What's interesting here is that we have had a gap close buy signal, and we've also had a rebound off the floor of a rising trend channel. Top of the channel there heading towards the $4.20 area. Looking for that by the end of next month while we remain above recent resistance around the $2.10 levels, above 2.10, looking for $4 plus on XTI. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.